Hello, this video is about cold composting without the need for a compost pile. It's about chop and drop and forget. No sweat, no flies, no smell. I'm going to cut you back to some video now that I shot in the autumn of last year. This is where it all begins. We've been through that autumn now. We've actually been through winter and we're moving into the spring of the year. So after you've watched that clip of video, come back to me because it's now 6 months later. We'll go outdoors and we'll have a look at what's left of that chop and drop. On buckets, on beds. This is something you might want to do if you garden at home. It doesn't matter where you are in your gardening year now. If you decide to do this, then autumn is the time to start to do it. So you could plan for autumn now, couldn't you? You could say, yeah, in autumn we're going to do this. That's a plan. Okay, watch the video, then come back to me and we'll pop out to the raised bed and we'll have a look at what's left of that chop and drop on the raised beds and on the buckets. Hello, I've just got back from our local seashore. This is what 5 bags of seaweed looks like, laid out on the lawn. Why have I done that? Well, it'll allow the rain to wash it off a bit. Any salt that's on this seaweed will be residual. There won't be much of it, but the rain will wash it off. So that will be good. I'll also have the chance to fish out any feathers or stones that there might be in this seaweed, or any fishing line, because my ultimate intention is to put the lawnmower over it and chop it up into smaller pieces so it'll break down quicker. Now let me show you this. The lawnmower wouldn't like to go over those. It definitely wouldn't. And when you collect seaweed, there's every chance you're going to be bringing pebbles and stones up from your local seashore. So you need to fish those out before you put the lawnmower across the seaweed. So we'll leave it out here like this for a few days. And then, if we can get 2 or 3 dry days, because seaweed tends to be better chopped up when it's dry, doesn't take as much chopping. We'll let it dry out. We'll put the lawnmower over it, chop it up, and then we'll drop it on any exposed soil that we've got, in the raised beds, in my buckets, in my bags. Okay, I've already dropped a layer of grass and leaves. That's the brown and the green of the mix, and this will just add a bit more firepower to that, because I believe There's every element known to man in seaweed, and probably one or two more that we don't know about because we haven't discovered them yet. But it really is good for gardens, and I've done it like this for a number of years now, so I know it works. I'm speaking from experience. Okay, so in a few days time, but included in this video, a few days time this will be dry. Well, I've had a chance to remove any debris that's in here. We'll put the lawnmower over it and we'll drop it on some buckets, bags and raised beds. This is one of my raised beds, and as you can see it's already got a covering of leaves and grass. Well, now we're going to add some seaweed. Now the grass and the leaves would be probably adequate, but as I live close to the coast, I've got some seaweed, it's going on. I'll give you a tip about collecting seaweed. Okay, you may go to a coastline and collect seaweed, and it's absolutely shot through with leaves at this time of the year, autumn, and you look along the coastline and there are no trees, and you get to thinking, well, where have all those leaves came from? I'll tell you where they came from. Where do all the rivers discharge? They discharge into the sea, don't they? Rivers run through countryside. Countryside has lots of trees. In autumn, trees drop lots of leaves into the river, and the river takes them to the sea. Hey, how about that? So when you collect your seaweed, you may already have a brown and green mix. The green being the seaweed and the brown being the leaves. Just chop it up. You've got everything you want in one fell swoop. And I don't know if I've said this before in this video, but I intend to do no more with this raised bed now for at least 3 or 4 months. March of next year, where we at now, we're in October. I'm not going to do anything till March of next year, by which time most of this will have disappeared. Yeah, it will. And what hasn't disappeared, we can incorporate it in. And you'll notice there are still some longish strands of seaweed here, and if you want to put the moor over it again, you can, but to be honest, there's probably no need to. I mean, the reason we do it is because it'll enable the seaweed to break down quicker if it's in smaller pieces. But come on, with 3 or 4 months before we want to use this bed, that should be ample for this seaweed to break down, and the leaves and the grass. Now I also have some bags and some buckets of soil at the top of this garden. They've also got seaweed and leaves on them, but we're going to give them a little more TLC. We're going to give them some of this seaweed and leaves, because we're not going to use that again for 3 or 4 months, are we? Yeah, let's go up to the top of the garden. Come on, let's do this. We're nearly at the end of this video, which is good, because I'm sure you've probably had enough now, and I've got quite a bit of work on my hands here. I've got quite a bit more seaweed to chop, and more buckets than you can see here, and I just need to get stuck into it. Okay, so this is all we're going to do. Do a bit of seaweed, and then do nothing. Now I will tell you now, if you do put the lawnmower across this stuff, make sure you check for stones, fishing line, bits of wood, anything you wouldn't want your mower to come across. Don't break it. And you will make a mess. I've made a mess. There's a mess on the garden now. I'll need to do a bit of a tidy up. I won't be able to get it all. But what I found is, if you leave that mess, within say a month's time, it's disappeared. It's disappeared because the worms have had it for the dinner. Yeah, the worms do the tidy up for you. But I'll give it a little tidy up, and then we'll leave nature to do the rest, just as we're going to leave nature to do the rest with this chop and drop. To incorporate it in. Okay, so I hope you've enjoyed the video. I've enjoyed making it. This is Homegrown Veg signing out. And I'll tell you now, the rest of this work can wait. Well, I've had a cup of tea. Yeah, get your priorities right, Homegrown Veg. Did you enjoy that? I'll tell you what, those pups enjoyed it on the seashore. They really did. And yeah, as I've said, since we shot that video and put that chop and drop on the raised beds and the buckets, I've done absolutely nothing with it. Absolutely nothing. Chop, drop and forget. Let Mother Nature do the rest. Let the wind and the rain take the strain. Okay, let's go outdoors and check this raised bed and those buckets. Come on. These are the buckets, and as you can see, we've started using some of them. We've started to bring these buckets back into action, and I hope you can see that most of that chop, drop and forget has disappeared. There are a few leaves left, but I can't see any grass and I can't see any seaweed. But what I can see is the distance between the top of the soil in the bucket and the top of the bucket now. It's about an inch. And if you remember, when we put the chop and drop on, we filled these buckets to overflowing. So where has that grass gone? Where has that seaweed gone? Where have all the leaves gone? Well, you know where it's gone. It's gone into that soil. The wind and the rain have pushed it down, the worms have taken it down. All the goodness that organic chop, drop and forget has brought to the party is now in that soil, ready to go. And over the next few weeks, a month or so, all these buckets and those bags will be back producing vegetables. Okay, let's pop down to the raised bed. Let's see what's happening down there. Well, there's not much left here either, is there? No seaweed. Only the odd little bit, look. No seaweed. Just a few leaves. Can't see any grass. Where's it gone? It's all in that raised bed. You know it is. And from the first part of this video you can see that this bed had a covering that took it up roughly to the top edge of the raised bed. Look at it now. It's all gone down into that bed. It's ready to go. Now when we do decide to use this raised bed, and that looks as though it's probably in a month's time, we're not going to dig it. We're just going to break up the soil loosely on top. Why is that? Well, the goodness that has gone into this bed, how far down do you think it's gone? It's probably only gone a few inches. The worms have taken it down, the wind and the rain's driven it down. All the goodness is down there, but it's only in it a few inches, exactly where we want it to be for the roots of vegetables. Turn this over, we'll put it down even deeper. We might put it out of reach of the vegetables. So yeah, it's a no dig bed now. We're not going to dig it. We're just going to loosely break the top up and then plant something in it. Probably in this bed it'll be onions. That's 6 months in the life of some chop, drop and forget compost. Called winter composting here at Homegrown Veg. If you've got raised beds you can definitely do this. If you've got a few buckets, yeah, small amount of grass, few leaves in autumn, small amount of seaweed if you can get your hands on it. If you can't, grass and leaves will do the trick, green and brown mix, and you're away. Just chop it, drop it and do nothing else. Okay, so I hope you've enjoyed this video. I've enjoyed making it. This is Homegrown Veg, signing out.